talking about the movie Hopper. Now, Hopper basically begins with a 6-year-old child. The child's name is basically Mabel. Mabel basically is passionate about the environment. She wants to protect the environment. She wants to keep the environment safe, which is good. But the problem is how she does it. Because in the first scene of the movie, she basically attempts to steal all the animals, basically in all the classrooms, to basically release them out into nature. While disruptions around the school, basically, hitting the teachers, doing all bad things, to the point where her mother is being called to school, complaining about how she is, and then Mabel is actually suspended in school. So already we have a basic understanding of what type of character she is. While on her way, her mother is very frustrated with Mabel and is basically telling her, look, I know that you are passionate about animals, I know that you love animals so much, but then you don't need to cause destruction on your way trying to save the animals, my baby. You know what I mean? There's different ways of doing this. So obviously, frustrated, her mother leaves her with her grandmother. Her grandmother lives near the glade. The glade is like an open area forest, and her grandmother basically teaches Mabel how to control her emotions, because Mabel is a very passionate and driven type of person, which is good because she's the type of person that has a goal and is willing to do every single thing to the point of their own exhaustion to get there. The problem is how Mabel does it, and you will see throughout the video that I'm about to tell you how it becomes a problem. Because Mabel, she don't care. She does something, it doesn't matter how it affects somebody, as long as she reaches what she wants, it doesn't affect everybody else because she doesn't care, right? And that's one of the major issues that I have with her character, because I feel like they could have maybe written it somehow, but at the end of the day, I do understand, because obviously they want to show someone who's passionate, who's driven, who's amazing, and at the same time thinking, she got all of that, but then her reason for why she does that is not that much impactful. Right, okay, so obviously Mabel decides to live with her grandmother for the past 18 years because obviously her grandmother knows how to get to her, how to calm her down, how to control her. And at this point, obviously, they're living near a forest. Obviously, she's seen all the animals, she's loving all the animals, she's feeling good about herself. Now, unfortunately, her grandmother does pass away, which I feel like for most of us, it does happen, but obviously for Mabel, she lived with her grandmother. Her grandmother is kind of like her mom at this point, even though she does have a mom, which obviously it is kind of impactful. So obviously, her main reason now to live is to make sure that she saves her glade, which is the place where she and her grandmother used to spend most of their time together. Now, issues start to arise when the mayor is basically Jerry Gonzalo basically announces to plan a route of this like beltway through it, claiming the animals have already left, right? Obviously, there's no animals in this place, so he wants to be able to create a highway basically in this glade, which Mabel does not like. So every single time, Mabel is actually fighting with the mayor all the time, and then I can get that, and I don't think I have a problem with her fighting with the mayor. Actually, what she does, I actually support it, because obviously you're trying to protect the environment, you're trying to make sure that everything is safe, but the mayor at the same time is saying that, hey, people want me to do this thing, people want me to create a beltway, there's nothing that you can do, that's the reason why I'm gonna be re-elected. So basically, Mabel being frustrated about this, Jerry, basically the mayor, gives her a way out. It's like, hey, if you can get petitions of people signing this thing out, I will leave you alone. And which is a very good and reasonable way to actually show that the mayor basically has good intentions, because obviously he's giving people what they want, and unfortunately Mabel is stopping him from doing that. So Mabel basically tries to do that, and it goes horrible because nobody likes Mabel. I mean, look at this guy is even up going backwards into the grocery shop. It's like, no, I'm not even dealing with you. You are too much. To the point where she even goes to an old guy's house, and when she goes to that old guy's house, the funny part is she's literally talking through this guy's ear, like talking, cleaning all the person's room, to the point where that he doesn't even notice that this guy is actually deaf. Which honestly, I won't even blame the guy, because I feel like if you could have just taken your time to actually listen to the guy, maybe you would have realized that this guy doesn't even hear you at all. So that's the issue with Mabel. And obviously, this becomes another problem that I'm going to be talking about. So Mabel basically so passionate about the glade, what he does, he actually goes into the class, because Mabel is in college, right? He's in college, he's not even attending class, she's failing. She does not care, because she's so passionate about this glade that she wants to save it. and then she keeps using animals as her outlet of like why she wants to save it, which I do believe obviously she does care about the animals, but for me I feel like she cares so much about the glade and what it means to her, because this was a place where she spent the most time with her grandmother. And now when you think about it, she lost her grandmother, and then this place is where it feels connected to, because she feels connected to. And if this place gets destroyed, what does that mean? It means that she also loses this place as well alongside her grandmother, you know what I mean? So I feel like that, for me, that is why I feel like that's what's driving most of her actions, honestly, because Mabel is so passionate about everything. While she actually was disrupting the class when the teacher was actually teaching, the teacher basically told her that, hey, look, if you want to save the glade so bad, basically if you invite a beaver, and a beaver is there because the beaver is basically gonna, is like the foundation that is gonna bring all the animals back together, and he's thinking all of that, so he tries to get the beaver back. And when he does that, only to find out that eventually the beaver, it is a robot. Biology professor Dr. Sam and the colleagues Nash and Connor have secretly developed the Hopper's program, right? So if you guys are seeing me looking there, I'm actually trying to read what is going on here, so that's why I'm like, okay, which basically allows humans to be able to inhabit robots. So basically what it means is that they're gonna take the mind and put it in the animal's head so that they can become the animals while their body basically remain neutral, right? I actually love this scene so much because it's so fun. It's like, we take it here, we put it here, we take it here, we put it here, which kind of shows, I don't know if maybe this was intentional or not, but I feel like it kind of shows what type of student Mabel is, because Mabel is in a biological class, and which means she's in a class where it talks about, nature, or maybe like the human reproductive system, or maybe just animal impact, because she's so passionate about the environment. Maybe she must be doing something that has to do with like animal related. That's what I'm thinking, because it makes sense for her to do that, right? So obviously Mabel does something, right? Mabel, after discovering the fact that her professor basically has invented a way to be able to spy on the animals and be able to communicate with the animals while by taking their brains and putting them into a robotic animal that actually looks like an animal, and basically going and taking that animal into the wildlife to be able to see how animals are, to be able to study them, which is very fascinating when you think about it. But the problem is, Mabel says, okay, and then I need to become an animal so that I can go and get the beavers, so that the beavers can come back to the glade, and when they come back to the glade, then obviously there won't be any beltway highway near this place. And all of our professors telling like, no, we can't do that. We study animals. We don't tell animals to act a certain way, to behave a certain way. We have to allow the things to the way things are, right? So obviously this pisses Mabel up to the point where he doesn't even listen to the directors, the professor's input, and actually latches herself into the robot's body and basically takes her brain and put it in the robot's body, right? I feel like this just shows the fact that she doesn't care. And for me, I feel like she's like the villain of the show. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like she's the villain of this show. And she's the main character, but like the way she does things, I don't like it. I don't like it, honestly, right? So after doing that, she basically runs out of the lab and then finds herself in the animal kingdom. And in the animal kingdom, she doesn't even know the rules of the animal kingdoms, because of the glade, the animals are also surrounding. They're basically living in a very small space, which can actually shows the implications that as humans we do to animals, because the more we keep on taking lands, obviously, which means the animals won't have any left for them to be able to roam around. It will be basically become enclosed, so which means we either have to take them to the zoos for them to be able to survive. I don't know how we are going to do it, which I do find it very educational when I watch that part, to be like, oh, as humans we are actually actively destroying the environment because we are so focused on what we want to create, and then it's like, how are the animals going to live? You know what I'm saying? So she goes there basically because she doesn't understand the animals lingo. She does so many things that are bad, because in there the rules are simple. Is that we live in harmony, everybody is not a stranger, but if you need to eat, you eat, right? So obviously this part is also funny. I'm gonna put it here, like this part was actually funny because it's like, hey,
she caught me. I mean, she's gotta eat someone.
He needs to eat. Why are you bothered with him trying to eat me? Because he caught me, right? So So obviously, because of what happened, obviously Mabel broke the rules, so they had to take them to the pond king. The pond king is like a beaver, and the beaver basically takes, I would think, like he takes Mabel under his mentorship, and when he takes her under his mentorship, he shows Mabel like how they live, the rules, and how they do certain things. And Mabel is so passionate about this environment and trying to take the glade back. He literally tells the beaver that, hey, how about you go to the glade and then basically, you know, install yourself there so that they can stop doing the beltway highway, right? So obviously the brain is like, no, we can't do that, honestly. And the main reason why is because they place like animate sound that animals can only hear, which basically makes it hard for the animals to be in that place. So obviously Mabel's stubborn person climbs the tree, destroys the things, and all the animals come back to that place, which sounds like a happy ending movie, but unfortunately not, because within seconds Jerry finds that out and instantly puts so many ambient sounds, which makes it worse because that place where the animals were living in now becomes so closed. It becomes so, like, how can I do it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller again. That's how it became, right? So Beaver is basically saying, you know, like, Mabel, like, honestly, you got guts, you got skills, you are passionate, you know what you want, and I feel like that's what we need in this pod. I feel like that's what we need. Can you please be my assistant, right? Mabel is about to reveal the truth, but obviously that's when the moment when he found out that obviously Jerry basically implanted more image sounds, and then obviously it's like, ugh. Basically after that, Mabel becomes sick of this, and the way he's so sick of it, like, you know what, I'm sick of so much of Jerry because he's so focused on the people and nobody cares as much as I care about the environment. So how about we call the council agreement? So the council agreement is like all living mammals, I think, from like carnivores to like the fishes to the birds to the insects, all of them, they have somebody who is a king there. So obviously these are important people, right? And this is where we will begin to see Mabel's ambitions begin to affect everybody else. That's what it was on there. And then Beaver basically says, Mabel's like, okay, you know what, fine, we're gonna do that, but let me be in charge. Beaver starts to talk and tell them, hey, we want you guys to help us. Jerry over there is basically like not allowing us to go to the glade. We want to go back to the glade, but the problem is we have a lot of sound, we have a lot of imminent sounds which basically affects our ears, so obviously we can't live in that place, right? And only us animals can hear it. So all the animals, they're like, that ain't my problem. That's your problem. That's the problems of you guys. I'm not affected by this. Until Mabel basically starts to say, hey, if you guys don't do this, you know what's gonna happen? You know what's gonna happen? Jerry is basically gonna affect everybody else, because if he starts with us, then he's gonna go with you guys, and he's gonna go with that guy, and he's gonna go with that. Before you know it, you're all enclosed in a small box and you can't do nothing about it. This pisses the councils off, because at first they were willing to let it go, but now they're like, you are so annoying, and the movie makes it so, I don't know if this is like they wanted to do it, but nobody likes Mabel. That's pretty much what I can say. Nobody likes Mabel besides Beaver. He likes Mabel, but everybody else most of the time, and I mean also the Bay, but everybody else basically they don't want nothing to do with Mabel. The humans don't want her. Now the concept of like, we don't like you. You talk too much. You think that you're better than us. You think that we should just do whatever you want. So obviously, because of what Mabel said, the concepts now they agreed to be able to do that, because obviously it's like, okay, if he's gonna go for you guys, which means we are next, and we don't want to do that, right? So they decide to like, okay, we are going to basically harm the humans. So now Mabel got see that she really did that, and what she did is like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, because now obviously it's like, oh, now the animals, they want to basically analyze Jerry, because Jerry is the problem, right? Which is the butterfly. This basically gets one of the queen, which is the butterfly, because the butterfly is like saying, what do you want from us? At first you're telling us to go and protect your land, now you're telling us not to do that, now you're telling us to do something different. Like, you're literally wasting our time, and it's basically poking Mabel to the point until Mabel squishes the butterfly, and then basically puts her hands on the wall and tries to remove the squishy glue of the impact. And all the animals are shocked. And this part made me so like, if you care so much about the animals, you wouldn't have done that, right? For me, I saw it, I was like, if you care so much about the animals, you wouldn't have done that, because why would you do that? If you care about the animals, you would allow them to keep doing that, and then that's what it is, because at the end of the day, you have to face the consequences of your own action. And Mabel don't get no consequences. She don't get, and you will see how, when she's about to get her consequences, she escapes it just like that. How does it happen like that, right? So obviously the animals now, they are basically angry at Mabel and the beaver, and they go and literally try to unalive both of them. Basically they chase them down the pond. They chase them down to the point where the beaver is almost like surrounded, because one of the professor's goon basically also transforms himself into an animal, tries to save Mabel, and Mabel's like, no, I can't leave him behind because he's my friend, and basically beats one of the professor's employee to get Beaver, and basically take the Beaver and put her somewhere else. The Beaver's like, Mabel, you cost me my family. Why did you not listen to me? Why did you do that? Now you're gonna get somebody hurt? And then you know what is her reason for all of this? It's because she's saying she's tired of feeling like this. And I think it's like powerless. She's tired of feeling powerless because nobody listens. And she feels like she cares so much, but nobody listens. And as much as it pissed me off, I'm just gonna say, it pissed me off because I can understand that obviously you feel powerless, you feel like nobody listens to you, but then there are different ways of doing this. You don't have to do it in a way that directly affects other people, you know what I mean? And then obviously she lost her grandmother, now she's about to lose the glade, which I believe it is very important to her. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's important to the animals, but I also believe it's also important to Mabel as well, because this is a place where she used to spend her time with her grandmother, and whenever she misses her grandmother, or whenever she's there, I'm pretty sure she feels her grandmother with her, right? That part I do get. But then now obviously King Paul doesn't have a title anymore. He's basically endangered. Like his species, they want to unalive him because of Mabel's decisions, right? So this part basically, I was crying, and I was like, and all you had because of Mabel's decision, and the reason why is because you just allowed your feelings to get in the way, right? And basically the king is threatening all this, and it's because of you, because you just allowed yourself to feel so powerless and feel like nobody hears you out, and you didn't even try to explore other activities. You are in college, like for example, she is in college, right? And if you're in college, I mean, like, you could have been, she's studying biology, which means she must be studying something that is animal related. She doesn't even take care of her education, because I mean, in a normal case environment, she would have just basically went to varsity, make sure that she gets at least decent grades, or maybe good grades or excellent grades, and make sure that she invests her time in how to protect the environment, make people aware about, like, okay, we can't always expect highways. I don't know, do something to bring more awareness about, or maybe start her own project, you know, something that she can do on the side where it allows her to be able to protect the animals. She could have tried to do that, but then she is so focused in the fact that she wants to get the glade saved that she doesn't realize that her way of doing it is affecting everybody else, to the point that she's affecting her friend, which is the beaver, and the beaver cares so much about her. So obviously, because of all of these things, the beaver is still a kind of good person. He tries to save Mabel. He forgives Mabel. He forgives Mabel after that one sentence where Mabel says, because I feel powerless, which I don't believe is a good enough consequences for you for what you did. You literally just took your friend out of her home, out of her position, out of everything, and then you literally said, hey, what you think about animals is dumb. Because the beaver is like, look, I feel like we are all animals here, and then we just have to find a way to live in harmony. And then Mabel was like, nah, I want this so nice. I actually tried to do that. So now the beaver forgives her, because like, oh my god, those animals, they're gonna try to go after Jerry, because you know the animals obviously, they think Jerry is the problem to all the issues. So what are they gonna do? They're gonna go after Jerry. So they basically say, we have to go after Jerry. And I find this very amazing, because how animals talk to each other, they have open eyes, you see them talking, you see them being humans, but then as humans talking to the animals, you see them having like almost like doll eyes, kind of like, you know, doll eyes, which is kind of cute, and like you see them having those types of eyes, and I found it very interesting. So we have this amazing scene here.
I get it. I'm dreaming.
Which I found it very amazing, right? It was very fun, it was very engaging, to a point where Gary's like, oh no, we're talking to a beaver? Oh no, I must be dreaming. I must be dreaming, to a point where he's allowing himself to, you know, like crash. And then obviously there's a shark that is following him along, basically wanting to eat him up, and then he's basically not realizing what is happening. So obviously they're trying to save Glade, and then when they try to save Glade, Mabel tells Jerry that, hey, the reason why these animals are afraid of you is because of your fault. Gaslighting. You are the one who literally told the animals don't know, right? And then the second part, he tells Glade that you need to be able to stop the Glade, because you need to stop and he tells Jerry that, hey, you need to stop the beltway. You need to stop the beltway because obviously the animals are after you because they know that you're going to destroy the Glade, and then they don't like that. And Glade is very, very much resistant to that, which is something that got me also fed up, because the moment when Jerry refused, you know what Mabel did? Mabel was like, oh, you refusing? While he is down here, basically notifying the shark to basically to look after, to basically go to Jerry and eat him up. So it's kind of like saying, if you don't do it my way, you're gonna get chopped. Which honestly doesn't make me kind of support as a character, because it's kind of like, you just are willing to allow people to be affected by your actions, are willing to destroy so many people just for you to get what you want to get, which I didn't like that part. Honestly, that part was not a very that part was like it was like that part, right? Obviously Jerry basically is kind of like no, I don't like this basically. And obviously Mabel realizes her obsession with the Glade, and obviously this is the point where Mabel basically realizes her obsession with the Glade, which has basically made situations even worse because it has worsened the situation, and Mabel basically chooses to recall with Jerry. So basically Lastly, the professors, they actually found where Mabel was, and they were able to track her from her location to be able to take her and be able to transfer her body into the beaver, right? She didn't want to do that, but they actually did that. This part was actually the most saddest part, because you can look through the beaver, and the beaver, when they found out that Mabel is actually a robot, it is so sad. It is so sad, because you can see the betrayal through her, like through his face. And from that on, the beaver like literally stops talking. Like obviously Mabel could transfer herself into an animal, but obviously in that point the animal literally stops talking, right? And then obviously it looks betrayed by Mabel, and obviously it looks betrayed by Mabel. This is the moment when Jerry basically decides to recall with Mabel and basically allow himself to be able to transfer into the body of the robot, right? Basically allowing. And obviously, honestly, I think Jerry is a very amazing person. Honestly, I feel like he did not deserve what Mabel is actually making him go through, because he's just doing what the people want. And obviously, I know in reality politicians, they don't care, but in this part they're just showing him as a good, decent guy who just cares about the people, who just has fun, who loves his mama. That's what they usually do. But then unfortunately, because of Mabel, now he's being chased by all animals. Yikes. So now we have one of the insects. So in the insect, when Mabel basically literally, made one of the insects unalive, so the insect had a child, and that child was like basically was waiting to bloom, right? So his name is Titans, right? So Titans basically is fed up and wants to destroy all the humans, because basically Mabel destroyed her mother, and what she does is basically, and so he has pursued all the animals to be able to avenge for his mother, and by doing that he was able to capture Mabel basically and allow himself to transfer into a human body. Not just anybody, Jerry's body, since obviously in that same day Jerry's gonna be having a concert, basically like a rally where he can be able to talk to the people, because he's like almost gonna be re-elected, right? So he allows himself to transfer into Jerry's body to be able to go there to the human beings. And those emit sound that Jerry used for the animals, this one is basically designed for the humans, and he's willing to do that to be able to affect all the humans, basically crush their bones into skulls while listening to that. What did I say? Crush their bones into skulls? Does that even make sense? But we can see that. So obviously Mabel basically, he tells the beaver that, hey, we have a plan. We need to stop this this Titans person, because if we don't do that, obviously then the humans are going to be affected by this. And obviously Mabel tries to pursue Titans, but telling her like, hey, I understand why you're doing this. I was also feeling this way because you felt powerless. And then basically Titans don't care about that. Titans basically is like, why? I don't even care. You and Jerry are the same. You are the same. You have your own agendas, which I actually kind of appreciate, because finally someone told Mabel the truth. Because honestly, I don't think she's the same as like Jerry. I mean, if you think about it, like in reality, but in reality, I feel like she puts so much of her agenda. So I'm saying, like, I keep saying it, like, she is passionate, which is good, right? And I wish that I could have like a drive like that. I wish I could have a drive like that, a passionate like that, to be able to know what I want and be able to do it like just like that. The problem is how she does it, which is the issue, because she does it in a way where she caused destructions along her path, and it affects everybody else. It first affected the professor because he literally stole the beaver and basically implanted herself in the robot body without the permission of the professor. And then even in the video you can see that the professors are trying to get Mabel back because it's not going to be affecting her very good, because they keep saying things like her mouth is forming, she's going to lose her mind, things like I'm not sure they say lose her mind, but obviously they're concerned because what if something happens to her? I mean, like, we can't say that her body is literally there and at the same time her mind is there. It can't happen. It needs to come back together, right? So they're constantly worrying about her, trying to save her, while Mabel is out there basically destroying more and more, like, everybody. Basically, everybody that's on Mabel's part basically gets affected by her, right? And I feel like that's what we need to acknowledge, honestly. And so obviously after doing all of that, basically tries to convince the animals, and she was trying to say a speech basically trying to convince Titans, which basically resonated with the beaver, where it's like, you know what, we need to be able to protect the environment, basically we are all animals at the end of the day, something along those speech lines, which is quite ironic if you think about it, because it's kind of like Jerry keeps on telling Mabel the truth. It's like, Mabel, you are the cause of this, you did all of this. And you know what Mabel does, and you know how they literally try to make us feel bad for Mabel? They take us back to the flashback of her mother, her basically they take us. And you know why Mabel doesn't have any consequences? Because every single time when Mabel does something bad, they always try to throw in a flashback of her and her grandmother to be able to feel pity for her. And I'm like, you know what? I can feel pity for you, but that doesn't excuse you for you to do this thing. It don't. And the problem is, like, obviously, I mean, you look at it and you're like, okay, I understand what's going on, but at the same time, like, no, you don't excuse you to do all of those things. And then that's what I'm saying, she doesn't take accountability at all, and that's my issue with Mabel, that she doesn't. Every single time it's almost like she keeps either in her feelings or either in her head, or basically she's gonna throw in a little bit of flashback basically of her and her grandmother spending time together, and we just have to somehow feel sad for her. Like, I feel like I would have loved it if Mabel was able to face consequences from her own action, when if someone held Mabel accountable for something like that, then I would have been like, okay, I think now I'm gonna like her, because she did have a redemptive arc where she's like, okay, I was bad, I was self-centered, now let me help you guys, you know what I mean? So obviously during the struggle, Mabel, so obviously the Titans basically is trying to basically destroy all the animals. He basically climbs up into this image sound to be able to release it so that all the humans can be affected by it. And obviously during that time, the Titans basically show himself who he is, basically saying that he doesn't care about the animals, he doesn't care about anybody else, he wants them to be the only surviving, like, mammals, basically be the only insects that are important. Basically he wants to colonize the whole world, so he's saying he wants to do that, which all the animals basically hear. And unfortunately basically he does get knocked off, and when he does get knocked off, his brain goes back into his body, and his body is very small. He's a small butterfly, which basically pisses all the animals off, because all the animals they basically heard everything that he was saying about them, so they basically, you know, chew him out, eat him out, you know, they did nature. That's basically what he did. Not gonna do anything, you can take it. And they give Mabel the place. While if you think about it, they're gonna go to another place and also create like a beltway there, because realistically they need to do that. So we can see that Mabel doesn't even care about the other place, because he only cares about this place, because Mabel is obsessed with this glade, because this glade is the place where she and her grandmother used to stay. And I just feel like she used the animal as the outlet of, like, hey, I want to protect this people instead of protecting my own selfish desire, which the fact that I don't want this place to be destroyed, right? And obviously when I was watching it, I was like, nah, I don't like this. And just like that, that's the end. Mabel basically, her life is perfect at this point. She passed. I don't know how she passed, because she did not attend her classes, and then she just got a job just like that. And then how she got a job is like, I know, you know, I literally destroyed the environment, I caused so much havoc around this place, but I want to work with people who care. I feel like if I did that in the real world, I'll get that will not work in the real world, right? This one is like, it just I don't like that part, because they just give Mabel all of this. The only person who wins in this movie, in this animation movie, is Mabel. She's the only person that wins, and you can't tell me otherwise. She's the only person that wins. And because after that, she just goes back into the glade and literally sits with her friend, and her friend basically just kind of, you know, throws emojis because obviously they can't communicate. And in a way, I see it as if like Mabel has silenced her friend, because he has silenced her friends, because Mabel did not do anything. Mabel is the one that caused issue. Mabel is the one that destroyed the lab. Mabel is the one that Mabel is the one that basically ruined the beaver's life. Mabel is the one that basically unalived the insect queen. Mabel is the one that literally destroyed the land. And all the animals, all they had to do, they had to be supporting on all the animals. What they did, they had to like kind of like protect Mabel. And how do they protect Mabel? They basically kind of they literally put themselves at risk by trying to save Mabel, because Mabel is the main character at this point. And that's how the movie ends. It ends with Mabel having her glade bag and sitting next to a rock with her beaver friend who doesn't talk to her anymore, because obviously in my interpretation I feel like she silenced like the beaver. The beaver has no right to talk in her life, and that's how I see it. So that's the end of the movie. That's the end of the animation movie. And as I'm saying, quite honestly, I liked it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I tried to sound like I liked it. I really liked the movie. It is very fun. It's very good. It's very funny. It has good laughing points. And my issue is just the fact of like the main character, because I felt like they kept giving her a way out. There wasn't a point where Mabel was held accountable. There was almost this point where when she was sitting with like Jerry, especially when they were held captured, and Jerry kept on talking in her ear, telling her all the horrible things that she did, and instead of just allowing her to click in and maybe just having a redemption arc, she just literally goes back and we just see a flashback of her grandma. Like really? You see, that's my issue. And I feel like if they could have just given us, because in the movie, maybe I think she's given like 3 times for her to be able to take accountability. The first time when she was supposed to tell her friend the truth that she's a beaver. The second time basically after destroying her friend's life and basically trying to allow that to sink in and be able to hold accountable. The second time almost unaliving a man because she could not shut up because she was so obsessed about the glade. The third time, obviously, when Jerry was sitting with her and she kept going through flashbacks and she keeps going through flashbacks. I feel like the movie's like, hey, we know she's not nice, but look at the flashbacks. I think you'll like a little bit. And I actually watched it from one of the creators of this movie, from the Pixel Animation Studios, who literally said, I think they were having an interview with the cinema therapist, and they were telling her that yes, before people watched this movie without the grandmother, where it was just Mabel alone, and they did not like her. And then in the moment when they put Mabel and her grandmother there, that's when they did like her, which starts to show that the grandmother is an excuse to be able to try to create a little bit of sympathy in order for us to like Mabel. As I'm saying, it's a very good, interesting movie. Honestly, I liked it. Honestly, I wouldn't mind watching it again, but I won't say Mabel is I won't stand by her. I understand the goal, but at the same time, it's like, you don't need to destroy people's lives just for you to do that. Which, yeah. And this movie actually did very good. Like, honestly, it literally got like it grossed like $389.5 million like worldwide, and it's like the 8th highest gross film of 2026, especially with the reputation that Pixel has been getting, especially because most of the Pixel's movies that they create are usually good. The problem is I feel like it doesn't resonate with people the way they want to, and people, they usually, there's a lot of criticism of them. They feel like Pixel is no longer hitting it the way it did with like Funny Mimo, also Incredibles, all of those types of movies, and which I can agree. But at the end of the day, I feel like one thing I like about Pixel is that most of their movies, they have heart, right? They tell stories that I feel like which I resonate with, and I feel like it's always something to learn when it comes to one of the Pixar movies, which was actually good. So in this part, I love the movie, and I like the fact that it was educational. I love the fact that it showed us that, okay, us humans were literally doing this, but at the end of the day, I feel like it also showed Mabel, maybe because everything that Mabel did ended up having a consequences, and we also got to see what type of character Mabel has, which I did not like. But obviously, yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys had a blast with me, and then I'll see you guys on another day with another video. Tell me guys what types of animations did you guys want me to watch, and I'll basically do another review of it. I'm passionate. Bye.